Supergirl teaser trailer first thoughts and comic details and Easter eggs. Now, I gotta warn you guys talk a lot about shills and grifters. If there ever was a shill, this is one of them. He is a DC related individual. He works with DC. So we're going to hear his thoughts, but I do like to hear it because he's going to have probably some inside information on the Easter eggs and stuff. So that'll be cool to look at. But in the quest to find out how people actually feel, I would be remiss if I didn't at least check out some of these inside things like this. So let's see what Coy has to say.
Internets, hello you absolute lovelies.
Hello.
Let's talk all about that
Lovelies.
Supergirl trailer. This is a trailer adapting one of my favorite comics of all time, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Not one of my favorite comics of all time, but it is a good Supergirl story, even though it's not my version of Supergirl. I've talked about that a lot. I won't take up time.
And there is so much in just this teaser trailer that pulls directly from the comic books.
There is,
if you read
guys.
This page, I cover lots and lots of comics. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week. I'm also the comic correspondent for DC Studios.
Subscribe to him.
So I was lucky enough to get flown to New York to see the trailer a little bit early. So I'm
Subscribe to his channel. Don't forget to subscribe to mine, brand new superhero reaction channel. And I like that comic, but it's not my Supergirl. But that trailer is filled with stuff from the Supergirl. That's one of the reasons I like the trailer. I realized that wasn't that way for everybody.
Filming this moments after seeing the trailer with Millie Alcock, with director Craig Gillespie, with James Gunn and Peter Safran, with a celebration of Supergirl. So I wanted to give you my first thoughts right away, but if you like comic book stuff, if you like movies, if you like TV, please hit that subscription bell. I cover all of it, and I cover it professionally. So if you want to see more DC coverage, check out my show on HBO, as well as all my coverage for...
See, he's being clear about it. You know, he works with DC. He's doing it professionally. But the Easter egg stuff is the stuff I'm most excited about.
DC comic stuff, all of it out there, but I'm coming from a place of being a devout lover of especially this comic book. So I'm hoping to give you some comic book insights into this trailer. First of all, yes, let's get it out of the way. There is Lobo. Lobo pops up briefly in this trailer, and Lobo will be in the movie. And a cool fact about Lobo in the canon of the story is that he's not in the comic book. It's an 8-issue comic book. He didn't make that cut, but he was originally written into the series, and the editors cut the character. Tom King said it ended up being...
Okay, I want you to put your theories in the comments. What do you think Lobo's going to be? I talked to a guy on somebody else's live stream that said that he thought Lobo was going to take place of Comet. If you know who that is, you read the comic. I think Lobo's just going to replace the bounty hunter in the beginning, and then he's going to be brought back at the end, which he is not in the comic. In the comic, the bounty hunter at the beginning is nothing. He's hardly there, but I think that's how that's going to go. Let me know what you think in the comments if you think I'm right, because I really do. I think Lobo's just going to replace that bounty hunter, and they're going to bring him back in the end. Also, Coy, that shirt matches your eyes insanely.
For the best, Tom King, the writer of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and that eventually they were able to find a great way to put him back in the movie, and he'll be played by the one and only Jason Momoa, who was born to play this role like Reynolds was for Deadpool or Downey was for Iron Man. But we're going to talk about Lobo later. This is a Supergirl video.
I think Downey kind of created his Iron Man, but he did do a good job with it.
Let's talk about the Woman of Tomorrow herself. First of all, Millie Alcock in this trailer absolutely embodies that swag, that brokenness, that horror.
I think she does. I've heard some complaints about Millie, but they're few and far between. It seems like most people are like, this chick's got it. You know, so I don't know if that's the way like everybody feels, but I do. Some people have said she's like not pretty. I mean, she looks regular to me, but in a good way. But I feel like she has that nice young kind of like, I gotta be a superhero, but I'm dealing with some stuff kind of feel that she's doing in the trailer. So that's pretty cool so far.
L remembers Krypton. There are a couple shots in this trailer of Krypton. There is a shot that a lot of people I think are going to think is Kandor of a bubble forming around a city. That is, you know, a very common image in Superman is Kandor, the city that is protected. But this is actually not that. It is a much darker thing that I don't want to give too much away, but know that in the comic books there is a bubble formed and that this represents something very important to Kara, and I highly recommend you read the comic.
I've been spoiling that. I think I'm going to do like he just said and not spoil that. It's going to be a lot of people that don't know that wasn't Kandor. And actually, those people, though, they probably don't even know what Kandor is, so it really doesn't matter.
I'm not going to spoil anything too deep into the lore, but in issue 6, they deal with this bubble, and there's so much trauma around what Kara goes through because she didn't lose Krypton in a day. She lost it over time.
I'm not going to spoil it. Here's a comic where you can read exactly what this is.
And they allude to that in the trailer. There's a line of dialogue about it being more than just that moment, and that is beautifully illustrating the trauma and the differences between her and her cousin. The opening of the trailer is, of course, a shot of Krypto peeing on Superman, further illustrating the difference between the two of them, also showing the insanity of her home. You get a lot out of this trailer of just...
I also want to know what your guys' opinion is on that. I thought that the way they handled it was humorous, where she's like, "Oh, you got it on the paper. Good job, buddy." I did not like him getting peed on, but I see what they're doing there. You don't have to like everything that happens to a hero in a movie, like if a hero gets punched or if he goes through a hard time, like Superman 2. Christopher Reeve, he lost his power. I hate it when Superman loses his powers. I don't even want him to do that, but they keep doing it. So let me know if you thought it was something that shouldn't have been done, could have been done differently, or if it was done perfect. Because I really want to know. I just didn't like seeing it. But then they brought it home and she's like, "Oh, I'm housebreaking him." And it's like, okay, that makes sense. Plus, she's on the paper too. The stream's not directly on her, but she definitely gets splashback, which is no
the
good.
differences in personalities. But you also get lines of dialogue like, "My cousin always sees the best in people. I see the truth." That line is so heart-wrenching.
Even Tyrone Magnus liked that line, guys.
But also true to who Kara is, and the world she's built also shows that. I like the aesthetic of this world, having this steampunk, cyberpunk, western flavor, a lot of space stuff. This, in the comics, is...
Yeah, that feel is from the comics, but the 80s, there's no music in the comics.
It's a giant cosmic fantasy story. This is a
Big
teaser
cosmic,
trailer,
yeah.
7 months out. I am shocked at how done it is, but I'm also not shocked we're not seeing the more fantastical side yet, because I'm sure that's being...
Okay, on a note, I know I'm stopping a lot, guys, but I keep thinking of stuff because he's saying stuff. On the note of it being not, being the best trailer ever, right? Part of that is because of what he just said. Not everything's done. You can't make a proper trailer in this stage because it'll look like crap. Things aren't done. The kaiju, they showed the kaiju in the Superman trailers, but he wasn't done yet. They still had time to work on him and make him look better, and he looked great. They didn't, people complained about the kaiju, what they thought of it. They didn't go changing the way he looked because they weren't listening to that. They were just improving it and continuing to improve the CGI. They thought they had for quick little shots good enough, and they did. It was just very fast little shots. Same thing here. The shots are going to change. They're going to have more shots they can include in the next trailers because they're done. And they're not going to put out an official trailer until they're ready to show an actual good trailer. So that's the important stuff to remember when you're looking at teasers. A lot of teasers show footage that isn't even in the movie. Back to the Future, Robin Hood Men in Tights, the list goes on.
Made. Like, this film is being put in post-production as we speak. It's wrapped so early, and they have the time to make the beautiful, fantastical visuals. But the visuals we get here are already so stunning. It's already so cosmic. There's a bus we see that I think is going to sub in for a very important ship that travels through space between Ruthie, our young lead, and Kara, our Supergirl.
I don't know if it's going to be that one, because that was a big bus with its own cyber bar and all that stuff. But I do think it's representative. She does travel a lot, so I think it's representative of that. And she's not even with Ruthie yet on that point.
Ruthie is also seen briefly in this trailer looking ripped out of the comic book. Ruthie, with her saber for just a moment, is our protagonist, basically. The comic is told from her POV in the future. You get voiceover of Ruthie, as well as seeing her as a little child.
I do wish she had the goofy hat.
And basically, Krem of the Yellow Hills, who we also see in this trailer, Krem of the Yellow Hills is this absolute monster who killed her family. And
I'm disappointed with the way Krem looks. That's probably one of the Guardians of the Galaxy comments that hits the most, is the way that Krem looks. And he was a handsome, red-haired dude with elf ears. I wish they had gone comic accurate with that. That's a lot cooler look. The way he looked, it was like, I like the idea of bad guys looking really good so that it kind of, jerks your heart just a little bit. But the way they went, it'll probably still work out, but I could see how that was a screw up.
Ruthie swore vengeance on Krem, and through a series of events involving Krypto and involving lots of horrors on a planet and lots of death and murder.
He was like, "I'm not going to spoil the whole Argo City thing for you." And then he proceeds to put up a thing that spoils it. And now he's telling you what happens to Krypto. He's telling, I'm having trouble following what spoil means in this case.
Supergirl joins her on this great quest, and it takes months and months of space travel and of insane turmoil to get to the point where we meet up with Krem. So I'm assuming at some point along that way we run into Lobo, but also I'm assuming along that way we're going to get a lot of different moments from the comic books, including, I'm assuming, there's this incredible issue about the green sun, and I think I saw a very quick shot of it in there. In the comics, there's a yellow sun and a red sun that affect Superman differently. Tom King's daughter asked what it would be like if there was a green Green Sun? What would that be like? So we wrote this incredible issue about the Green Sun, and it shows the perseverance of Kara. And I'm really hoping that's a factor in the film. I think it's going to be, and I need to talk about the art. The art in the comic book is some of the best in comics. It's Bilquis Evely, who won Eisner Awards, which are like the Oscar.
Some of you have said that artwork is garbage. I like it. I like the way she does art. I actually looked up to see if she'd done any Superman stuff, which she hasn't. But I think it looks really good. I don't understand the complaints that I've heard on the art, which is few and far between. But I've seen them in the comments. I read y'all's comments. You know I do, because I pretty much answer all of them, unless it's in a chain. I've got a lot of comments to answer, so I can't get to all of them. But let me know what you think of the art. I think that the art from Woman of Tomorrow is perfect for that story that was being told. Perfect. Millie Alcock is significantly shorter than this Supergirl is, but I think that, it was good.
The comics, who won Ringos, who's won so many deserved awards. And what I love about this trailer is so much of, even though they haven't shown these broad vistas yet, because I think it's being developed, they show so much that feels like Bilquis's art. There's so much that feels like it's ripped out of the comic book. Even though the fight and the spinning with that like chain weapon is pulled straight from the comic books. The line of her like, this isn't going to go well for any of you, is a moment that's straight out of the books of her just tearing apart this bar and taking on all these people. Other key highlights from the trailer itself.
I thought that was from when the pirates, she deals with them, but he could be right. That could be from that moment. That kind of thing happens. So that's why I said it was straight from the comics from the very beginning. If you watch my other channel that is just about Superman stuff, I did a review. I did my reaction on that one for the trailer, because that's where, people want it. But anyway,
that I feel like pulled right from the comic is there is a moment where she is walking through the bar, and the way they frame her before they get to her like fully suited up, it reminds me of a few transitional pages between her and her like jacket runaround outfit, which we saw in movie form already in Superman. That full reveal of the outfit feels like a pull-up frame and a splash page that comes right out of Bilquis's work. I freaking love that. There's so many settings and tones and things that I think they're going to get to once we get a little further into production. I think the next trailer, I'm personally really happy that this teaser didn't show too much of the things to come as far as the cosmic world building. It already feels spacey. It already feels cosmic. But I really love this first trailer set to Call Me being so punk and gritty. And I think we're going to see more and more expansion into this cosmic world. I think there's a potential.
Yeah, I really like the idea that I hope that we see the planets. That's what I really want to see, is the planets. So far, we've seen that it's spacey. We're in bars. But I want to see the cosmic elements going all over the universe, to see all these different planets and aliens. I want to see different aliens that are different from each.
To get dinosaurs, like in the comic books. I think there's a potential to get some insane psychedelic dragons, which is a thing that happens in the comic books. Because in this trailer, we see Millie Alcock.
Again, guys, he's not going to spoil anything, right?
Saying, 23 is going to be my year. The bar's not very high. And it's because she's lived 22 years to this point of pure trauma, remembering Krypton, losing her family, surviving in these ways.
It's true.
She goes to red planets to drink, and in the comics and seemingly in the movie, she starts out completely hammered and navigating the world, but she's on that red planet, so it doesn't just give her the ability to get drunk, it also weakens her, so she has to regain her abilities. A fight that happens in the comic books is she takes this drug that's illegal from the bus, which we see on this. She takes this illegal drug, and it gives her insane psychedelic powers and actual physical powers, and people are taking it to cope in deep space. So I think we're going to get some of those elements of this broken, gnarled, and hopefully psychedelic, trippy, as well as insane Green Sun dinosaurs. There's so many visuals.
It's funny. I never really thought of it like that, like she's taking drugs. I guess that is what it is. When I read it, I didn't really think of it that way. I just thought she knows what this will do to her. You know what I mean? Interesting.
I think we're going to get. I'm really glad.
That's going to tick people off.
We're going to get them sprinkled, I think, and later. I hope we save some of that for the movie. Those are some of the things that I noticed that I think are getting teased. Like, I feel like seeds have been planted for some of those things. They're going to sprout into insane flowers. The comic is highly recommended. It's one of my favorite modern comics, one of my favorite DC comics, one of my favorite comics. Definitely think you should check it.
Okay. I don't feel like that about it. I think it was a good Supergirl read. It's not my Supergirl. I thought it was a good story. I think if they follow it to a T, we're going to have a good movie on our hands. But this reminds me of the way people talk about Superman All-Star or All-Star Superman. They're like, it's the greatest Superman story of all time. I'm like, it was a good story. I wouldn't rate it an 8, 9, or 10. Maybe a 7.5. I think it's a good story. I really like how much Grant Morrison knows his comics. But it's not a Superman story for me. It goes on an epic tale of like his last final feats. And I really like it when Superman is Superman, you know, when he's doing the daily saves, when he's not doing cosmic things, but things on the ground level, and it's still hard for him, even though he has all those powers. You know what I mean? Like solving a mystery as Clark Kent with Lois Lane. I like that. And that's not how it was. That was Lois Lane becoming Superwoman. That was, you know, going to, you know, Brainiac's world, you know, and that I
Out. There's a lot of great stuff in there.
sorry.
There are some things in the trailer, like a funeral that I think I know who it is, like the bubble that I don't want to give away that isn't Candor, like a moment that I think she's hammering lead. There's a lot of moments
She talks about a specific death in the book that hits her hard. That's probably what he's talking about.
that are straight from the comics that are so dark, and I think this movie is going to be very punk, very fun, but really dark and full of a lot of trauma. And I think Millie Alcock really showed.
I don't see that it's going to be real funny. People are calling it a funny Guardians of the Galaxy copy. I don't think it's going to be that funny. I think it'll have funny moments, but it won't. I don't think it like Guardians of the Galaxy is a comedy basically. This won't be that way.
So I wanted to cover it. I wanted to talk about it right after I saw it. I'm going to be diving in a lot more. I'm going to do a live stream talking about a few more details after I've watched it again. I've only seen it twice on a screen in a giant crowd, so I need to see it again and actually scrub it. This is all from memory from 3 hours ago and seeing it in a big crowd and trying to hear everything. So I'm going to do another video, live stream, but I'm also going to do a video I hope you guys want to check out of all my conversations I had. I have a few things I can tell you about my talking with James. I can tell you a few things about my talk with Peter. I can show you a little video of me and Peter talking, as well as video of me and Craig, the director, and I can tell you a little bit about talking to Supergirl herself. I got to talk to Kar-El about playing Supergirl and what that was to Millie and how she found that connection. So I'm going to make that the next video I put up, and I'll tell you all about that and cut to some stuff. But I wanted to get this up as soon as possible.
Let me know, guys.
Hopefully this was informative.
Let me know if you would like me to check out that video where he talks to Millie and all that. I would like to know before I do it if that's something. Remember, you can always put your reaction requests in the comments, okay? I also have an Instagram, that's Kryptonite Korner, that you can send them to. I get through there, I get them in the comments, and I try to bring that stuff together and, you know, to come up with videos that you guys like. So don't forget to check out my Amazon store. You can find all kinds of Superman stuff in one place. Don't forget it's a brand new superhero reaction channel. Please subscribe.